Have you ever wondered what really happens when you stop trying to control everything and fully trust God? Not halfway, not only when things are going well, but completely, placing your plans, your fears, your relationships, your future into His hands. It sounds simple, but in reality it challenges everything in us that wants certainty, control, and immediate answers. Most people say they trust God, but when life gets uncertain, fear often takes over. Today, I'm going to walk you through 6 powerful things that begin to happen when you truly trust God completely. These aren't just surface-level changes, these are deep, life-altering shifts that affect your thoughts, your decisions, and your peace. By the end of this message, you'll not only understand what trust looks like, but you'll also recognize how it transforms your life from the inside out. Number 1. You experience unexplainable peace. When you trust God completely, one of the first things you notice is peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from everything going your way, but a deep, steady calm that remains even when life feels uncertain. Philippians 4:7 calls it a peace that surpasses all understanding. It doesn't always make sense, and that's exactly why it's so powerful. Situations that would have once caused anxiety no longer control your thoughts. You still see the problem, but you don't feel consumed by it. Instead of constantly worrying, overthinking, and trying to fix everything in your own strength, you begin to release those burdens through prayer. You start trusting that God is already working behind the scenes, even when you can't see immediate results. This peace doesn't come from knowing the outcome. It comes from knowing God is in control of the outcome. That shift changes how you respond to stress, pressure, and uncertainty. Once you experience this kind of peace, you realize it's something the world cannot give and cannot take away. It becomes an anchor for your soul, holding you steady no matter what comes your way. Number 2, you let go of control. Trusting God completely means releasing your grip on the need to control everything. This is one of the hardest things to do because control often feels like safety. We think that if we plan enough, think enough, or try hard enough, we can secure the outcome we want. But Proverbs 3:5 reminds us to trust in the Lord with all our heart and not lean on our own understanding. That means accepting that we won't always know how things will work out and choosing to trust God anyway. You stop forcing situations to happen. You stop chasing things that aren't meant for you. You become more patient, more aware, and more willing to wait for God's timing instead of rushing ahead of Him. Letting go of control doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing your part while trusting God with what you cannot control. It means taking action when led and stepping back when necessary. When you finally release control, you begin to feel lighter. The pressure to figure everything out fades, and in its place comes a quiet confidence. God is handling what you cannot. Number 3, your faith becomes stronger through trials. Trusting God doesn't eliminate difficulties, but it completely changes how you experience them. Instead of seeing trials as setbacks, you begin to see them as part of your growth. James 1:3 says that the testing of your faith produces perseverance, and perseverance shapes you into someone stronger. Before, challenges may have shaken your confidence. Now, they deepen it. Instead of immediately asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to ask, "What is God teaching me through this?" That shift in perspective is powerful. It turns pain into purpose. It transforms frustration into growth. You begin to notice that every difficult season carries something valuable: greater patience, deeper wisdom, stronger faith. And over time, you realize that the very things you once feared are the things God uses to build you. Your trust grows not because life becomes easier, but because you've seen God carry you through what you thought you couldn't handle. Number 4, you stop living in fear of the future. One of the biggest changes that comes from trusting God is freedom from constant fear about what's ahead. The future often feels overwhelming because it's unknown. We ask ourselves, what if things don't work out? What if I fail? What if everything falls apart? But when you trust God, your perspective shifts. Matthew 6:34 reminds us not to worry about tomorrow, because each day has enough trouble of its own. More importantly, it reminds us that God is already in tomorrow. You stop trying to predict every possible outcome. You stop allowing what-if thoughts to control your peace. Instead, you begin to rest in the truth that no matter what happens, God will be with you in it. This doesn't mean you stop planning or caring about your future. It means you stop fearing it. You move forward with confidence, knowing that your life is not random or out of control. The future stops feeling like something you have to survive and starts feeling like something you can walk into with faith. Number 5, you become more obedient to God's direction. Trust and obedience are deeply connected. When you truly trust God, you're more willing to follow His direction, even when it doesn't make sense right away. Isaiah 1:19 says that if you are willing and obedient, you will experience the goodness of what God has prepared. You begin to recognize His voice more clearly, whether through scripture, conviction, or quiet prompting in your spirit. And instead of hesitating, you respond. Sometimes that obedience looks like stepping into something new. Other times, it looks like letting go of something familiar. It might mean forgiving someone when it's hard, or choosing integrity when it would be easier not to. Each step of obedience strengthens your trust even more. You begin to see that God's direction is not meant to restrict you. It's meant to lead you into something better. The more you obey, the more you realize that God's plans are always higher, wiser, and more fulfilling than your own. Number 6, you see God move in ways you never expected. When you fully trust God, you create space for Him to work in ways that go beyond your imagination. Ephesians 3:20 tells us that God is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or think. But often, our need for control limits what we're willing to believe for. When you release that control, you begin to see things happen that you couldn't have planned. Doors open at the right time. Opportunities come from unexpected places. Situations shift in ways that clearly show God's hand at work. You also begin to notice smaller, everyday moments where God is guiding, providing, and protecting you. Your awareness increases. Your gratitude deepens. What once felt impossible becomes a testimony. What once caused stress becomes a reminder of God's faithfulness. You realize that trusting God didn't hold you back. It actually allowed you to experience more than you could have created on your own. Now let's bring everything together. Trusting God brings a peace that remains even when life feels uncertain. It frees you from the exhausting need to control every outcome. It strengthens your faith through challenges instead of weakening it. It removes fear of the future and replaces it with steady confidence. It leads you into obedience that aligns your life with God's direction. And it opens the door to seeing God move in ways you never expected. When you trust God completely, your life doesn't suddenly become perfect, but it becomes grounded. You stop being controlled by fear, stress, and uncertainty, and instead begin to live with stability, clarity, and purpose. If this message spoke to you, take a moment to respond. Share this with someone who needs encouragement right now. And in the comments, write, "God, I trust you." Not just as words, but as a decision you're making today. Continue growing in your faith and stay connected for more messages that help you walk with confidence and trust in God daily. Trusting God is a journey you build one step at a time. There will be moments when it feels easy and moments when it feels challenging. But every time you choose trust, you are strengthening your foundation. Psalm 37:5 says, "Commit your way to the Lord, trust in Him, and He will act." That is a promise you can hold on to. God sees what you cannot see. He is working in ways you may not yet understand. And as you continue to trust Him completely, You will see His faithfulness show up in your life again and again. You are not alone in this journey. Stay faithful, stay surrendered, and keep trusting, because God is already ahead of you.